the fact that Obama funded extremist Afrocentrists who shared Wrights' anti-Americanism means that this is now a matter of public policy and therefore an entirely legitimate issue. The fact that Obama funded extremist Afrocentrists who shared Wrights' anti-Americanism means that this is now a matter of public policy and therefore an entirely legitimate issue. The fact that Obama funded extremist Afrocentrists who shared Wrights' anti-Americanism means that this is now a matter of public policy and therefore an entirely legitimate issue. As Carruthers puts it, some of us have chosen to reject the culture of our oppressors and recover our disrupted ancestral culture. The rites of passage movement is a way to teach young Africans in the United States how to reject America and recover their authentic African heritage. Carruthers admits that Africans living in America have already been shaped by Western culture, yet compares this Americanization process to rape. We may not be able to get our virginity back after the rape, but we do not have to marry the rapist. In other words, American blacks may have been forcibly exposed to American culture, but that doesn't mean they need to accept it. The better option, says Carruthers, is to separate out and relearn the wisdom of Africa's original Kemetic culture. Carruthers is a defender of Leonard Jeffries, a professor in the Department of Black Studies at City College in Harlem, infamous for his black supremacist and anti-Semitic views. Jeffries sees whites as oppressive and violent ice people, in contrast to peaceful and mutually supportive black sun people. The divergence, says Jeffries, is attributable to different levels of melanin in the skin. Jeffries also blames Jews for financing the slave trade. More of Carruthers' education philosophy can be found in his newsletter, The Kemetic Voice. In 1997, for example, at the same time Carruthers was advising the South Shore School on how to set up an African-centered curriculum, he praised the decision of New Orleans School Board to remove the name of George Washington from the elementary school. Apparently, some officials in New Orleans had decided that nobody who held slaves should have a school named after him. Carruthers touted the name change as proof that his African-centered perspective was finally having an effect on public policy. At the demise of the George Washington School, Carruthers crowed, "These events remind us of how vast the gulf is that separates the defenders of Western civilization from the champions of African civilization." According to Chicago Annenberg Challenge records, Carruthers' training session on African-centered curricula for South Shore teachers was a huge hit. As a consciousness-raising session, it received rave reviews and has prepared the way for the Curriculum Readiness Survey. These teacher training workshops were directly funded by the Chicago Annenberg Challenge. Another sure sign of the ideological cast of South Shore's curriculum can be found in Annenberg's documents noting that South Shore students are taught the wisdom of Tahotep. Carruthers' concerns about menticide and genocide at the hands of America's white supremacist system seem to be echoed in a South Shore document that says, "Our children need to understand the historical context of our struggles for liberation from those forces that seek to destroy us." When Jeremiah Wright turned toward African-centered thinking in the late 1980s and early 1990s, the period when, attracted by Wright's African themes, Barack Obama first became a church member, many prominent thinkers from Carruthers' Association for the Study of Classical African Civilizations were invited to speak at Trinity United Church of Christ, Carruthers himself included. We hear echoes of Carruthers' work in Wrights' distinction between right-brained Africans and left-brained Europeans, in Wrights' fears of U.S. government-sponsored genocide against American blacks, and in Wrights' embittered attacks on America's indelibly white supremacist history. In Wrights' Trumpet News magazine, as in Carruthers' own writings, blacks are often referred to as Africans living in the diaspora rather than as Americans. And you will note that I recently made a video where I speak of Africans living in the diaspora, and you begin to catch the relevance of this